you who may not be familiar with me. So I am the co-owner of E3 Realty Group alongside my partner, Dave Neal. We have a closing this morning, so he's unable to be here. But for those of you who may be new to our access meetings or a guest of someone, so EXP is all about community. We're all about growth and collaboration. So we have our monthly access meetings here. Typically, they're the first Thursday of each month, but that does vary a little bit. But it's our opportunity to all come together to grow and collaborate. So we have the Access Group, which was founded by Tina Call. And so Access is here. We also have our Fast Forward Movement platform, where there's always tons of weekly training. And then I have the pleasure of running our community called Agents Mastering Growth, where we provide training, support, and resources as well. So today we're gonna talk about DISC the Deal. It's all about the DISC assessment and how really understanding clients, how they receive information and how we receive information, how it helps us win the client and convert, right, and close, because that's why we're all here. So to kick it off and to go through the DISC assessment, I'm gonna turn it over to Mary Lou, and she's gonna take it from here.
Yay! Applause, applause. I'm a high I. I love applause. So there you go. And I don't know where I need to be on the screen, but you may just kind of need to follow me around.
That follows you as you speak.
Okay, awesome. All right, I'm gonna move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, so I have met a lot of you, and some of you I don't know. I'm just gonna give a quick introduction. So my name is Mary Lou Digman. You can call me Mary Lou. You can call me MLD. And I will say that Felicia is responsible for me coming to EXP and being a part of the call group. Nice. So Felicia and Dave, her business partner, are very near and dear to me, as are all the agents in her organization. So yes, so I've been licensed for 25 years. I've done just about every role that there is to have in real estate. I got DISC certified, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it became a very important part of what I did. I am the onboarding integration coach here at the call group. I love doing what I do, and I love welcoming and bringing in agents into the call group family. So I am also a North Carolina real estate instructor. I wrote a course on the DISC. It is a 4-hour CE elective, shameless plug. It's an awesome class. I love teaching it in person. I taught it here in person. I've also worked with Real School, which is April Stevens and her school, and I love bebopping back and forth and teaching that class as much as I can in person. Some of y'all have taken my CE elective, and you just took that, a couple of weeks ago, we were here. We're gonna talk now, you can go ahead and put my big fat credentials up there now. So I actually studied under a DISC mentor. Her name is Cynthia Matheny. I give all my props to her. I studied and worked with her for 2 or 3 years. And then I got my certification through Intermetrics, which is the platform that we use. What was interesting is I was in this training with them and this certification with like a lot of HR departments for big corporations and things like that. So that I do have the training and the experience to back up all of the DISC information. This is going to be very participatory. I'm going to ask y'all to actually participate. Did everybody take their DISC assessment? If you hadn't already, does everybody have their results either with you or on you where you can easily access them? Because I'm going to show you how to read those results, because we walk around saying, oh, I'm an I, I'm a D. We are not those things. We lead with those things. We lead with those because we are still individuals, right? And it's how all of the your pieces on the graph, how they all fit together that make you who you are, okay? So one of the things that I have found is that relationships, they fail around the conversations we do not have. Does everybody agree with that? This is a great book by Susan Scott, Fierce Conversations, if you've never read it. Sometimes fierce conversations are needed. Honesty is always required in our business. But fierce may mean different things to different people. It's just more about having the conversations that need to be had. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the DISC. And there has been a belief and a philosophy for hundreds of years that there are 4 main personality styles or types. I mean, this goes way back to the Plato and the Socrates or Socrates, if you watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, right? And they all call them different things, but the way we will talk about it today is the DISC. So if you think about the 4 behavioral styles, they are each a language. And you're going to speak that language at different levels of fluency, if that makes sense. And when I show you how to read your graph, we'll talk about that. How many of you have traveled to a foreign country? Y'all who were in CE remember this. You get off the plane, you're hot, you're sweaty. All you want to do is get to your hotel and you don't speak the language. How does that feel? What are some of the adjectives that pop in your mind? Lost, frustrated, anxiety, uncertain. That's the thing, y'all. We're all speaking different languages, and if we don't understand someone else's behavioral language, what they say, and their body language, it's like being in a foreign country trying to hail a taxi when you're hangry and you just want to go take a nap before you go sightsee, right? So I want you to start thinking about the different styles as languages, and you're going to have a different fluency in those languages. Does that make sense? So it is a universal language of observable human behavior, what you see and what you hear. It measures how you do what you do. It is not a measure of skill or intelligence. And faster does not mean better. All right, D's and I's, I'm talking to you in the room, right? There are times when it's good to slow down. There are times when it's good to give more thought and intention and contemplation. But one type is not better than the other, right? I believe that there is room for anyone to do anything about in real estate that they desire. That's what I love about this business is there's opportunity everywhere. And it doesn't matter what you want to do. I've bought and sold, I've worked with clients, and my love now is coaching and teaching and training. So there's room for everybody in the real estate space and every personality styles. So once we understand these languages that everybody speaks differently, we can understand ourselves better, and we can also understand our clients better. We can understand the agent on the other side of the transaction. I mean, who has worked with an agent? You're like, I don't know if we're on the same planet. Like, and not just behaviorally. Sometimes there's, things that are not cool. However, we're not going there. This is not a compliance thing, all right? But we want to know ourselves better so that we can predict and meet clients where they are, right? Because it's our job to serve them as their fiduciary, right? So that's what we're talking about. Okay, so now we'll also, during this time, we're going to talk about how they respond to problems and challenges, right? Because different styles respond very differently. How to understand others' point of view. Do we all think that in our world today that it would be helpful for all of us to understand where other people are coming from? Yeah, I mean, we need that. Besides that, the DISC, who knows, it might bring world peace. I don't know. Maybe, right? And we're going to talk about how people respond differently to the pace. As I said, Pace does not equal skill or talent. People just do things very, very differently. And how people respond to rules and procedures. Who likes to follow rules? Oh, look at all these compliant people in here. That's great. That's awesome. Right? Not everybody views those things the same, right? All right, so now we're gonna put a, hello, beautiful Charity. Hey, all right. So now we can go ahead and put up the disc graph, the quadrant, and we're gonna have a conversation about this. And I definitely would love some participation, all right? So if we look, we've got the 4 styles here, right? We've got the D, I, S, and C. And at the top, you can see that it says active and direct, right? So what I want us to think about right now is things we see or things we hear that will tell us that someone is direct. What do you see? What do you hear?
Dominant.
Well, when you say dominant, what does that look like? And yes, Tracy.
In their tone sometimes.
Their tone, okay? Tone, right. The way they carry themselves. What does that look like, Felicia?
Sound very assertive, like you can look at them and see they're very assertive, even just when they hear.
Okay, so probably what, shoulders back? Yeah, eye contact, me and Charity have it right now, that's right. Yes, eye contact. If somebody is direct, they're pretty much gonna tell you, right? What else do we observe about them?
No nonsense.
No nonsense, okay, yeah. What might happen if the conversation isn't going the way they want it to? What starts happening?
They lose interest.
Oh yeah, they're gonna lose interest, they're gonna start looking at their phone, they're gonna start tapping their feet, they're gonna be looking around like, who can I go talk to now? Please get me away from this person that talks too slow, right? Or I have things that I need to do. All right, what else? Anything else that we can think of? What else?
Louder.
Louder, yes. Typically, they're gonna have a louder voice.
Dominate the conversation.
Could dominate the conversation, yes.
A straight shooter.
Straight shooter,
Taking charge.
taking charge. So think about all of those ways that,
They can appear very confident.
yes. Think about all those things that we just described that will help you when you observe people and you see. And I'll tell y'all a story about a woman I sat next to at the airport, and some of y'all have heard this story, but you can look at people. Who is a people watcher besides me? I love watching people. It's fascinating. Let me tell y'all, once you understand how to break down the disc, I mean, disc your spouse, your kids. Look, I have a direct people dog. My dog, my Chihuahua, he's a huge extrovert, and I have an introverted bunny, right? She just wants everybody to leave her alone. But once you understand all of this, it makes it really fun so that you can really figure out someone else's point of view and where they're coming from, okay? All right, so that's the active, that's the direct, which we could say are also the extroverts, right? So the direct active types. So now we're gonna go down to the bottom. We've got the S and the C. That is your more passive, your more indirect people. We could say that they are introverts. So now on the flip side, how do we know when someone is indirect? What do you hear?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Okay, all right. Tracy, is that what you were gonna say?
That's what I was gonna say, very quiet, and they seem to be listening more than speaking.
Yes, they're gonna listen more. They're gonna definitely observe. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't speak, but they're not gonna come into a room like the direct types do, right? They're gonna come in with a very different approach. There's more thought there's more processing that happens with someone who is indirect. Let me go back and say this as well. What's up, it's Javares, one of the best on the planet. Y'all, if you haven't checked out some of his renos and the passion he puts into what he does, unbelievable.
He's not a D.
No, he's not. And he's also very humble. He really is. So, anyway, okay, squirrel. See, that's what happens when people start walking in for me. Yeah, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah. Oh, something else I wanted to say. Your active direct types, typically if they say something, there's gonna be a period at the end, right? On the indirect side, you're gonna more likely get question marks. There will be more questions. I remember a good friend of mine started a team, and she had an agent on her team, and she leads. She is more of the direct type, and her first buyer agent she hired was more indirect, and she was like, God, I can't handle these questions. And I'm like, that's who she is. That's who you hired. You know, she's definitely going to ask those questions. But I just remember hearing that, and it was really funny. Okay, so we kind of covered those. Now we're going to go to the guarded, task-oriented side, right? Which is, and wow, isn't that fascinating? The D's and the C's have something in common. They both like to get ish done, right? And they're guarded because they're so task oriented. It's not a lack of warmth or love, but they want to focus on the finish line. It's like, all right, we're here, we need to get there. So there's less fluff. It's about the destination. So now I want you to think about it, not the letters, but how do you know when someone is guarded? Because now you know that you have a direct and an indirect that are also guarded. So how do you know when someone is guarded?
They're standoffish.
What do you mean by that?
You just can't break through that layer, that.
Okay.
I would say they lead with curiosity first until they feel like they can take that guard down.
Okay, so you may get very short answers.
If any answer.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
any interaction until they feel like they're comfortable.
Yeah, well, because they're like, why are we talking about this
Yeah.
kumbaya stuff? I
Yeah.
mean, we have things we need to do. If you ask a guarded person, tell me about your family, what are you gonna get? Gonna all flowy and, oh my gosh, let me show you relationships. It's just, this is who they are and how they show up in the world with those default behavioral tendencies that God put in them on the day they were born. And some of it, yes, I do believe also, some of it is learned, but not necessarily. And I think different cultures fall into different patterns as well. All right, so guarded. Let's see, what else? What about body language? What might we?
Arms crossed.
Yeah. Can a direct super high D cross their arms? And they will if they don't want to share any information, right? So yeah, so just keep in mind that you've got, you know, they show up differently just based on whether they're direct or indirect. What else? Anything else that you can think of with guarded?
Cautious.
Say-
They are cautious.
They can. They tend to not trust the person, so they verify. Trust but verify. Ooh, have we heard? All right. You know, it's so funny because people say that to me all the time. They're like, I love people, so I must be an extrovert. And it's like, no, not necessarily. They just go about it very, very differently. So how do we know when someone is open? How does that show up? Because remember, we've got an introvert and an extrovert in here. So they're not going to show up the same, but that people-oriented should have some common threads. So what does that look like?
Inviting, warm and inviting.
Warm and inviting, yep.
Very sociable.
Sociable. Promote people or themselves. Sarah and I do that really well.
Very inquisitive.
Yeah, inquisitive. Oh my gosh, they want to hear everything. Tell me your story. I want to hear it. Tracy, what you got?
I was just gonna say, along with approachable, they make smile when they talk to you.
Yes. Might they touch you?
Yes.
Would a guarded
Say they're
person,
more-
is a guarded person gonna put their hands on you?
No.
Mm-mm. Not unless they might have a mix of everything else. Javaris, what you got?
So I was gonna say, they could be an omnivert or omnivert.
Yes, they can, and we see a lot of that, and I'm one of those. See, here I go, I'm talking about myself again. It's so easy and natural. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Charity, what you got?
They talk more in emotions and feelings.
As much as possible. Sure, they would. Oh, I love it, right? So, yeah, so, anything else that we can think of? This is gonna come in handy a little bit later, so that's why we spent a fair amount of time talking about, the direct, indirect, guarded, and open.
That'll be the life of the party.
Yes, well, yes, they will. Well, especially if an I walks into a party, they're like, what's up? I'm here. I'm laying out the shots. Y'all, well, I do have to say this, but I used to go to parties. This was, I know, I could have been a frat boy, but I used to do, I probably share way too much up here, but you know, I'm having a good time. So, but I used to love Jaeger bombs. And I would go to a party and I called it Mary Lou's Traveling Jaeger Bomb Show. And I carried a cooler with me to parties and I'd walk into a party and I'd be like, all right, who wants a Jaeger bomb? It's like, let's do it. It was
Where were
always a
you
lot
at
of
the parties
fun.
I went to, Mary Lou?
What's that?
Where were you at the parties I went to?
Anyway, all right, so there you go. Any questions on this? Okay, all right, so we're gonna start breaking down the types now. So let's look first at the D. So you can go ahead and flip the slide to, and look at that, Joe Carteret. I know Joe. How you doing, Joe? I just looked up there on the screen. Okay, so here are the D personality styles. Look, these are all the judges on Shark Tank, right? These are people, they get ish done, right? They build companies. They are bold. They are outspoken, right? They are going to, they're venturesome, right? They're all of these things. They get it done, right? Leaders, right? Born leaders, a lot of athletes, right? Politicians, they just have that drive, right? It is about getting things done. Now, a D's biggest fear is being hustled or having their time wasted. So, like, if you're meeting with a D and that's not your style, don't be late. If you're late to a listing appointment, you blew it, right? You cannot be late because they value their time. They want to be so efficient with their time because they are task oriented. Now, Ds can also sometimes say things that might hurt somebody's feelings. A little too blunt there. Just do not take it personally. You have to, once you know that, then you can give them a little grace and say, okay, I know it's not me. They're in a hurry, they're getting something done, they just snapped at me, they don't have time for me. Now, on the flip side of that, does a D have a responsibility to be more self-aware? Yes. And to realize that that is their tendency, but to have more of that self-awareness. So, two things that are so important in business, in leadership, in whatever it is we're doing, guiding clients, is two things that make us successful, if you will. Authenticity, be who you are, and self-awareness. Know what you do well and what you don't. Spend more time doing the things that you do really well. Will you need to get uncomfortable? Of course you will. How to do what you do really, really well. Think about Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. What happened when he went to play baseball? Yeah, I mean, he choked. Yes, and he was very humble. But I do hear he's really good at golf. So, yeah, so, you know, we're not gonna be good at everything. So do more of what you do really well, okay? All right, so that's the D's. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Now, we're kind of looking at what a D client may say. These are things that maybe will come out of their mouth. I know what I want. Or they may not say those words, but they're just gonna tell you, right? I make fast decisions. I'm not here to waste time. Like, and then I like to win. I mean, they may not even say that, but you're gonna be able to pick that up, right? Or, I wanna talk to the other broker myself. Has that, I mean, if you're working with a client.
They probably already have.
Yeah, or they have. They've looked them up online already. They're like, look, man, I'm just skipping. You're the middle person. You're not doing it for me, right? So, I mean, if you're working with a D, you have to bring it. Or they'll walk all over you, right?
Sometimes you just have to let them do it though.
Yeah.
And just feel like you're supporting them and looking out for them through it all. Because sometimes you dominating them,
They don't, yes.
like I'm a high D, I have to let other Ds be higher than me sometimes.
I'm the same way too, so mine is fairly high, but I don't have to be the strongest one in the room.
Yeah.
Because I don't wanna have that friction. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, yes, but good observation. All right, well, let's go ahead now and let's look at the I. So the I, I said this on the D, like dominant, demanding, doer, demonstrative. You know, there's so many D words that we can think of for somebody, you know, that has that strong D. Now, I's, verbal processors. What happens in here has to come out of their mouth. It has to get out, right? And so there's gonna be a lot of talking, right? There will be a lot of talking. Has anybody in here ever had a friend reach out to them and say, oh my gosh, I just need to vent. Yes, I need to vent, and they just blah, 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 and then they're like, oh my God, thank you, I feel so much better. And you didn't say anything, all you did was listen. But once, typically they can solve their own issues by just verbally processing it. Because that's how they solve their problems, right? Okay, and yes, they're easily distracted, squirrel. How many people in here have like 5 projects going on right now that have been unfinished for like forever? Yeah. Not, look at that, some people didn't raise their hands and that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, eyes get really easily distracted along the way, right? They can be inspiring, typically very lively, lots of animation. And typically they are likable. I say typically because to an opposite or different personality style, they may be very annoying, right? They are optimistic and very emotional. You're gonna see all of that, right? If you have a client, if you don't have a really strong eye and you have a client that does, I mean, you can see that discouragement or that disappointment or that joy, you can just watch it happen, right? And it does and it will. So this is, you could say, inspiring, iridescent, influencing, impulsive, interrupter. Not one of the best things about eyes is because they are verbal processors and they're always worried about what they're gonna say next, that they can easily step on somebody else. With clients, it's not an acceptable thing. I'm really guilty of that. And it's hard. It's a challenge. It's not a blind spot. I already know about it, but it's something, it's a conscious, consistent effort. And I's biggest fear is the fear of being rejected. So do eyes make really great salespeople? Yes, if they can handle the rejection. Because it's there and it's real. So that is something that eyes really struggle with, right? Sales, PR, any job that's very heavy on communication and just being around people, lots of people. That's why I'm so thrilled to be in an office environment, again, because I love coming into an office and just being around a lot of energy. So, yeah, so now, if you're, doing a listing appointment or you have an eye client, these are things that they may say. They may say, oh my God, make sure you find good people because I'm still gonna have wine with my neighbors. They're like my best friends. Do you think the new buyers, I think they should appreciate all these cute little things I did. I wanna come see what they do afterwards. I mean, I've had that happen where I've had eye clients say that. An eye buyer, they may be like, oh my God, this lender keeps asking me for everything and they won't call me back. And you call the lender and the lender's like, no, they haven't left me a voicemail message. I haven't heard from them, right? And so you really have to stay on top of them for deadlines. And they may be late. So you may need to plan your schedule around that. And when they want something, they want it. And they're as competitive as a D is, or fairly close to it. They're just more in it for the emotion. So they get way more emotionally involved in those decisions. Word of advice for any of you who may have a really high eye. Let's say you've got 15 minutes before you need to leave the office because you've got a listing appointment or you're meeting with buyers. Do not start another project. Shut your computer, go use the restroom, do whatever you want to do, because I think they're really good at time management, but are really the worst type for that. So just stop what you're doing so that you can be on time. And that because they're so optimistic that they can, oh my gosh, I have 15 minutes, let me be efficient with my time. And that's why eyes are late. Yes,
Mary
Tracy?
Lou, I did that yesterday and the day before. I specifically remember saying, oh, I have time for this, and I didn't either time, so thank you for saying that.
Yes, I have to do that with myself, otherwise, that's exactly what happens to me, so. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna move on to the S's, right? Remember, this is the indirect of the people types. Steady, systems, stable, security, Those are the words that resonate. We're talking about social workers, teachers, nurses, a lot of clergy. That is the helping profession. S's want to make sure that there's harmony and cooperation in the world, right? And they are very supportive. And they definitely want to hear your story. And they are empathetic. And more reserved, right? They're indirect. They love people, but it's gonna have to be in a smaller group of people. And they are caretakers. They're natural nurturers, right? They are very patient, probably the most patient type. They are systematic. Now, they like systems because they don't like the unknown, and they don't like not knowing what happens next. So if they know, that's why they make really good teachers and nurses. It's like, okay, here's what's gonna happen next. Here are the lesson plans that you need. All right, the doctor's gonna be in at this time. Here's the blood test or whatever. So they love those systems. Now, systems and details are two different things. The C is gonna excel at the details. The S is more about the systems, right? And it's because their biggest fear is a fear of the unknown or having the rug pulled out from underneath them, right? It's very, very important for S's to feel that stability. Hold on, let me take a quick drink of water. Okay, so,
Clarified it was water.
yeah, well,
I
I thought about it, you know. Yeah, no Jaeger bombs, I'd be bouncing off the walls, but anyway. Okay, so if you have an appointment with an S, you can go ahead and move the slide, if you will. This is what you might hear an S say. If it's a seller, they're gonna have a really hard time packing away their personal stuff, right? Because they don't want to disrupt their children. They want their kids to feel really good about that, you know, they don't want to interrupt their lives. And it's going to be very, very hard for sellers who have a really strong S. You know, they raise their kids there. You see the little ticker on the door jamb. You see, you know, the family's calendar overlaid with everybody's activities. You know, that, I mean, S mom is like super mom, right? She's got it down. She's got her systems down. She knows where everybody needs to be and when. They're gonna have a hard time depersonalizing, right? They can suffer from the paralysis of analysis. Like they're gonna wanna see all the homes. And you know, you have to figure out a way with S's, because you wanna make sure we have a fiduciary to them. You know, if you have a strong relationship with them, then you should be able to be a mirror for them and say, listen, here's how many we've looked at. You're not gonna miss anything, okay? And whatever the market is or whatever the circumstance is, shut their search off when you got them under contract. With the S, and an I as well, because they're gonna be like, oh my God, what about this one? What about this one, right? So just be really careful of that, okay? And they're gonna have a hard time making a decision, and they really need you to help them through that. They're not gonna wanna get it in a bidding war, you know. I and D agents are like, woohoo, let's go, right? And the S's and the C's are like, let's look at new construction, right? Because they don't wanna get into that. And this I will say as an agent, just check yourself if you have a really strong, direct style. Make sure that it's about the clients and not you winning the deal. Because sometimes that can happen, right? So the more we can detach ourselves from the outcome and just think about the client and what they're looking for. I'm not saying anybody in here would do it, but it's easy to get wrapped up in that. So I remember an agent at my old firm who used to just walk around like, I'm gonna win this, I won it, you know? So just be careful about that. And if it's meant to be, we'll get this house. How many of y'all have ever heard that? Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, if it's meant to be. It's like, well, if I have anything to do with it, you will get this house, right?
That's right.
Okay, all right, so now, and by the way, the majority of the population leads with the S style. So there are more people that are like that than any of the other types. So especially the direct types, and if you don't have the combination, if your S is fairly low, you're gonna wanna remember that, right? Okay, all right, so now we're talking about the C's, the most complicated maybe of the styles. Just because we don't know, sometimes we just don't know, because they are very private and quiet. This is concise, controlled, calculated. Trying to think of some other C words that work.
Composed.
Composed, yes. Good one, I love that, thank you.
I feel like a perfectionist falls in this category.
What's that?
A perfectionist.
Yes, that's a C's biggest fear. A C's biggest fear is making a mistake or being wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why they spend so much time. Look, we would not be where, thank God for the C's. We wouldn't be on the moon. We wouldn't have the Hoover Dam. We need those people to double check and run things through those formulas to make sure they work. I mean, we all know this. This is where the engineers and the scientists and the accountants, these are where those people live, and they live mainly in their brain. Doesn't mean, once again, that they can't have loving, intimate relationships, because they do, but this is just their behavioral style, right? And their biggest fear is being wrong or making a mistake. So that's why they spend so much time doing the research to make sure everything is on task, right? Okay, all right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Yes, so here's what a C client may say. They're like, yeah, we're not gonna give this house away. I mean, these are the numbers people, right? So the C's and the D's. Yeah, oh, and don't you love it when they've got the manual with all, oh my gosh. And they're like, here's the notebook, we've got everything, or I've already scanned all these documents in. I had a buyer or a seller, I had sold them their place when they bought it, and then they sold it, and I mean, Mrs. Seller, oh, she gave me so many spreadsheets. I mean, I had spreadsheets, she had everything. She had the cost of all the upgrades that they did, like the cost of everything. Anyway, yeah. Now, but they also may have a hard time, they may have some trust issues and may be a little more cautious about people that are coming into their house, right? So you may have to have those conversations with them. And they may say to you, well, we want you to be here for all the showings. So you have to make sure that you're really comfortable, ask questions first, and then figure out what their concerns are, and then make sure that you meet those concerns. How am I doing on time? Okay, all right. How much time do I have left? Like maybe 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the time. I don't remember what time we start. Okay, all right, we're good. That's what takes the most time is going through all of that. And of course, they're gonna wanna see all the documents, right? They're gonna wanna see all of that. Okay. All right, so you can go ahead and we're gonna go through these next slide. All right, so if you go on a listing appointment and you see this, that might be a D that lives there, maybe. Okay, and then, yep, so there you go, and then the eyes are gonna be like, oh my gosh, let's have a party. And then go ahead and go to the next slide. The S's are like, gather somewhere else, no, we'll go to the I's house, or, yes, and then a C will be like, just text me. Just text me. Okay, now at this point, here's what I want for y'all to do. If you can, T, if you can take that slide off really quick, just go back to the last one. Okay, thank you, perfect. All right, so now what it's time for everybody to do is go ahead, if you have your DISC results, your graph, you can go ahead and pull it out, just look at it or whatever, but we'll be looking at that in a second. So here's what I want you to do right now, and everybody out there, this is what I want for you to do. I want you to decide, do you consider yourself direct or indirect? And write it down. Are you direct or indirect? Write that down. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, it depends. Just pick one for that, okay? But then I'll tell you what that means in a minute if you were waffling. Now what I want you to do is, are you guarded or are you open? And I want you to write that down. Everybody got it? Okay. Now, T, you can go to the next slide. So what that's gonna do is that is gonna land you in one of those quadrants. So if you said that you're direct guarded, that would be the D. If you say you're direct open, I, indirect open, S, indirect guarded, C. That's why we spent so much time on the front end talking about what you see and what you observe. Now, whatever that letter corresponded to, is that one of your top types on your DISC graph? So congratulations. Now you know, you don't have to know the letter itself, but you can know if they're direct, you know how to approach them. If they're indirect, you know what they want. If they're guarded, you're gonna know that, and open. So you only need to answer 2 questions if somebody's standing in front of you. It's like, are they direct or indirect? Are they guarded or open? You can now figure out somebody's style in less than 60 seconds just by observing, right? Okay, all right, go ahead and go to the next slide, if you would. Okay, so this is me. Yes, I've spent time in therapy. But that's okay. But here's the deal. The middle line here, the graph goes from 0 to 100, right? And I shaded that one, so that's what's called the energy line. So the higher something is over that energy line, the less effort it takes for those qualities to show up in your life. Or if we take it back to the languages, the higher something is, the more fluent you are in that language. Does that make sense? The lower something is, the more effort it takes, right? It is not your jam. It is not your strong suit, right? Now, the bars, the colored bars are your natural style. That's how you show up, who you are when nobody's watching. The gray is what's called your adaptive style. That's how you show up when somebody is looking or you feel like there's an expectation. Adaptive is very different than consciously adapting to your clients, right? Yeah, so you can see, I mean, I'm kind of off the charts, but I've got 3 over that energy line. Who has 3 over the energy line besides me? Okay, yeah, there are, plenty, is your other one C?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I figured.
It's C, yeah.
Yeah, so don't spend a lot of time worrying about the gray. Like I said, you don't have to make an appointment with your therapist. You're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. But like you can see, I mean, my D is fairly strong, but I will dial that back. if there is a stronger D in the room, then I won't even, I don't even worry about it. I have a VA, I have an assistant, I need one. You can see that with that, see, details? No. Okay, let's go ahead and flip the slide. All right, adaptive and adapting. The difference is when you see what options there are for serving a client by adapting to their style. You can go ahead and flip. Okay, here's what you do. You identify the outcome, you determine their style, you now know, y'all, you stand a pretty good chance of getting at least one of their top 2 by doing that direct, indirect, guarded versus open, right? And adapt your style to adjust for their best outcome. Now, it takes energy to adapt, right? So we don't want to do it for super long. And if we're really far from that style, it's going to be a little challenging. All right, you can go ahead and flip the slide. Oh yeah, I'll show you this really quick. We have some pacing issues you can see here because the directs move at about the same pace. The indirects move at about the same pace. We've got more relationship building on the right and more doing on the left. So you can see, unless they're your top types, you can have some conflicts, right? If a D is working with an S, the D is like, oh my God, they just need to make a decision. And the S is like, they are pushing me and I don't want to be pushed. The I is going to be like, oh my God, it's like pulling teeth. They're taking too long. And the C is like, if they would be quiet and listen, they might hear what's actually important to me, right? Okay, you can go ahead and do the slide now. Okay, if a high D is communicating with a high D, that energy is going to be good, but with a high S, you're fine. You can go through these fairly quickly, so you can see they're at the same energy, but somebody's battery is going to get drained here. If a high C is communicating with a high C, but if they're with a high I, you could have a drain on some battery. So remember, this is only temporary, right? Okay, let's skip that slide. We don't need to worry about that slide. Yes, when you're communicating with the D, don't waste their time, right? Don't talk too slowly. Don't over control the conversation. That's what we talked about with D's. Don't take what they say personally. Right? Just remember, it's how they, and don't leave decisions hanging in the air. Oh, I think. You have to be decisive. You have to bring it. Okay, go ahead. Next slide. When you're with the I, oh my God, be positive and upbeat. Going to Taco Tuesday, help them organize their thoughts. Thank you for getting all that information into the lender. That's awesome. Get a commitment to action, right? Even though they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so ready. You probably need to send them an email with a recap of everything that you just talked about, right? Okay, you can go ahead and keep going. When you're communicating with I, don't too many details over their head. Don't let them control the conversation because you won't get control back if you give it to an I. And they can easily go down a bunny trail. And don't be afraid to ask for their buy-in. Like I said, you need to get a firm yes, because they're enthusiastic about everything. But you need to make sure that they're bought in to what you're proposing. All right, look at that in that pose. Don't you love it? All right, with the S, go ahead. Slow down, lower your tone, give them a detailed explanation of what they can expect. You have to show interest in them as people. Listen and be responsive and ask them if they have any questions. Go ahead.
You just did it. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
You were like talking like.
Yeah. All right. Yes, and yeah, don't interrupt them. Don't be domineering. Don't be demanda, right? And don't rush them to make a decision. Okay, go ahead. Next one. And the next one is C. You have to follow a process and a system. Allow them time to make decisions, build credibility, provide facts, and they want data, and be very clear about expectations and deadlines. Okay, go ahead and go to the next one. Whoop. Yeah, small talk, they're not interested. Don't oversell, no dog and pony show for a C. And be prepared, like they can smell if you're not prepared from a mile away. You can't be random, and don't push for a quick decision from them. Okay. When a D is communicating with, you can go ahead and animate all of those with, yep, there you go, perfect. So D with an I, give them recognition and praise, engage them in conversation. If a D is communicating with an S, you're gonna have to slow down and lower that tone of voice a little bit. Don't overdo the facts, they're more about feelings. If you're communicating with a C, they want those details, and don't tell them what to do, right? And slow your pace down a little bit, even though you're both task types. All right, go ahead, next slide. All right, if you're an I and you're communicating with a D, yeah, it's about outcomes with them, right? Minimize the chit chat. D's are there to get ish done, right? I, slow down with an S and don't come on too strong. And if you're with a C, you need to be prepared with the facts and details, and every client doesn't have to love you, right? And a C may not. They may just want you to get the job done. All right, if you're an S, you gotta bring it. You're gonna have to pick up your pace if you're dealing with a D or an I, and stick to the topic and be strong. You may have to have those conversations that might not be comfortable, but they're necessary. If you're dealing with a C, you pull your emotions back, even though you're both indirect types. They are task-driven, not people-driven. And refrain from getting in too much emotion with them. If you're a C and you're communicating with the direct types, yeah, you're gonna have to bring it. You're gonna have to bring that energy up, and talk, express your thoughts verbally, especially with an I. They're gonna need to hear what's going on inside your head. And explain to your fellow indirect type, the S, why the reasons are, because they're security minded, and don't overdo the facts and details. So, okay. The golden rule, we all know what the golden rule is, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated, all right? But we've been talking about the platinum rule, right? You can go ahead and advance the next slide. Oh. Yeah, oh, well, it's not on there. It's the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated.
It's right there, Marilyn.
Oh, yeah, oh, there it is. Okay, good. Yep, that's called the platinum rule. All right, that's all I got. So, 2 takeaways. I just need to hear 2 takeaways, and then we're gonna have Felicia bring a panel of the different styles up here to talk about how they engage with clients. 2 takeaways. What you got?
Platinum rule.
Platinum rule. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Direct. I appreciate that. All right, the platinum rule. You like it because it is about them. What else? Do you like? Yes.
I didn't realize how much crossover some of them have, so it was really interesting to see that.
And that's why the direct versus indirect and guarded versus open, because they have things in common, right? And we see like a lot of DI or ID combinations. And here's the thing, you know, D's and I's can come out of the gate really strong in real estate if they're new in the business. But if they're too impatient or they can't handle the rejection, they'll flame out. S's and C's will show up for all the training. They'll absorb it all, but sometimes it's like, all right, you gotta quit learning, you gotta go do. Yep, you have to take action. So, all right, anything else? Yes?
Understanding their fears.
Their fears, yeah. So I have one more quick funny thing, and then Felicia is going to bring everybody up here. So we were finding a person with a C personality style, and we picked one of the agents that's fairly new on our team, but is not new to real estate. And Felicia was like, well, it's a bummer because she won't be on the flyer and she won't be on all the promotions. I'm like, she's a C. She's not going to care about that. And is that true? Yes. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Felicia, my girl, and she's going to carry this home. I hope this was helpful to everyone.
Thank you. So it's funny, Mary Lou shared a story about finding people, because when we first started this and I sent out a group text to a couple other leaders looking for people, and I jumped out immediately as soon as I pressed send. She was like, I'll do it. So those personalities definitely come out. So I appreciate it, all of the help. So we're going to bring out our panelists now. And so what we did was we have everyone from the DISC profile. And a lot of these do kind of correspond and you'll fall into each other. But we have Danielle Harvey. So if you'll come on up. Danielle is going to be our D personality. And this is going to be very interactive because you're going to really get to see how you respond with your clients and how you overcome objections. We have our, come on.
Oh, I thought we were waiting. Okay.
We have our ID, which is Nina. Come on up. And then we have Tracy. She's going to represent our I. Some S in there too, but she's with her I. And then we have Kara. She's going to lead with her C. You ladies, come on up.
There's our cheerleader.
There's our cheerleader.
I'm with you, girl.
My I is high, my D, they're kind of matched. So we bond, it goes in together. All right, so we're going to kind of break down how this works. So first, let's talk about understanding your clients. So, and either one of you can kind of start with this first one, but how has understanding different personality types changed the way you communicate with your clients? Who wants to jump at that one first?
You have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to read your client very quickly, read the room quickly, and pivot your style based on what they need. So if I go out there and clearly I'm a little bubbly and I'm feeling like they're like, whoa, a little too much, then I've got to tone that back and really be able to understand, okay, they need this to be Southern quiet style and not Jersey style. So, you know, that's something that I know I've had to do always in life, but especially, you know, when dealing with different cultures, different everything, so.
And I think that comes with self-awareness, right? You have to have that self-awareness to know, okay, here's my personality type, here's how I like to communicate, but let me dial that back a little bit because that may not particularly fit the client. Anyone else want to share anything on that question?
I agree with everything you said. I'm also the IS though, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but in all honesty, you got one eye, you got one mouth, two eyes, two ears. And I know you're tired of hearing it, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to very quickly, like you said, listen, ask the questions, learn their behavior, and then very quickly turn to that chameleon. You really do.
Absolutely. And Danielle, I want to ask you a question. So with being a D, can you share with me a time when you had to adjust your communication style and it made a really big difference in your transaction?
So I was dealing with these clients that were high C's and S's, and they sent me this huge spreadsheet. C is my lowest. I'm detailed, but not like a spreadsheet girl. And I'm like, this wish list is crazy. I am not sure if I'm the right fit for this client. So then, you know, we met. I'm a DI, so I'm very much a driver, but and dominant. So I've tried to dial it back, like they said. But anyways, we went on. I'm like, I have no idea if these people like me. Like, I don't know if we hit this off. So I honestly wanted to kind of give up on them. I'm like, maybe I need to give them to someone else. And, you know, then as I got to know them, they were physicians, so very data driven, and thought about giving up, but actually we just got a 1.4 under contract with them. And so I learned to not worry about being liked and just give them data. Like, I mean, they wanted like a 17 by 15 dining room, very specific. So I learned to use that data to communicate back to them. So when they sent me houses, let me look at the data. Hey, that living room or dining room is not the size you want. Is that okay? And so I think I just had to be a chameleon, and it worked out for the best.
I know, and that's a perfect example and with a great outcome too. So, and you're able to recognize early on, let me make an adjustment. And it's okay to sometimes doubt yourself, right? We're always like, am I sure like I'm doing the right thing? This is a great fit. So we're gonna all have those times where we doubt ourselves, but that's when this disc comes into play where you're like, let me slow down. Let me really see who I'm working with and how we're gonna communicate the best. And you were able to turn that into an awesome success story. So that's amazing. Kara, I wanna ask you the same question. Can you think of a time where you had to change your approach in the middle of a transaction?
I can. I'm a C with also fairly high D, but I get bogged down in the details, and I had a client who wanted to make an offer, and I was giving him all the details, and he was just like, I don't care, just do it. And I was like, okay. So I either have to speed up, sometimes I have to let go of some of the little things and just push through. Push forward.
I love that. Tracy, let me ask you a question. So we want to talk about building trust. How do you build trust quickly with a new client who may be skeptical or hesitant?
Great question. I ask a lot of questions, and I immediately try to find something that we have in common, because there's something. We have something in common. I probably have something in common with all of you if we just ask the questions and get to know each other quickly. And then you dig into that, and it helps you learn their personality a little bit better.
And when you're doing that, do you normally find when you're first having that initial consultation, you're able to pick that up, or is that kind of throughout the process?
I think it's actually pretty quickly, because you really, if you're really listening and paying attention, they will tell you everything that you want to know, and they will tell you exactly how they want to be worked with.
I love that. Sounds great. Anyone else want to answer that question?
You have to read between the lines of what they're not saying.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, that's a big one, in the fact that they're giving you information even when they're holding back. So if they're skeptical, asking the questions to figure out why are they guarded, why are they skeptical, why aren't they going forward?
And also pay attention to body language.
Oh, yeah,
I mentioned that a lot when Mary Lou was speaking, that there's a lot of clues from body language. And when you're first meeting someone, they don't know they're even doing it, but they're responding to you the way they feel. And you can pick up some good clues from that.
Absolutely. And I would say give them grace, right? We always have this preconceived notion, or we're so quick to make an assumption about someone. And usually I find out when you act a certain way, there's a reason why. Something is causing you to act that way, or something is going on. So I feel like when you kind of give people a little bit of grace and really take the time to really sit down and figure out what's going on, it softens the tone. And that's how
you never know what they're going through.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going through something, and you never know what they're going through.
Absolutely. So. I love that. Amazing. All right. My next question, I'm just going to read it. Whoever wants to jump in, I can go ahead and take it. So we're still on the trust. What are some mistakes agents make when communicating with clients of different personalities? What do you think is a mistake?
I mean, I made the mistake. I go to, they don't like me, or, I'm not the right fit for them. But I think you just have to, like you said, slow down and communicate with them. And sometimes you want to give up. I think we're all guilty of that. So I would say that's probably a big one. Don't give up. Just get to really know the client and dig deeper. I think that's like the main thing, is digging deep with the people.
I love that. Anyone else?
Not reading the cues. Yeah. And I love that quadrant that Mary Lou had, because that makes it so easy to pick up on some cues and then realize, okay, this is what I need to do to adjust to get through. Yeah.
And in the market right now that we're dealing with, so when we talk about handling objections, right? I think objection is a huge thing right now. And a lot of times we were just talking to an agent, I think it was yesterday, and we were talking about she had a listing appointment and she didn't know prior to that they were interviewing multiple agents. And kind of how do you go into that and handling those objections? So I'm asking you, Tracy, what is the most common objection you hear from buyers or sellers right now? And how are you handling that?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question, because there are actually so many of them, right? Raise your hand out there if you work with buyers, and how many objections are you having? All of them. And I think that the only answer for me personally is find out what their real objection is, and then just tackle that one. And you may have to turn into a D and find that the research that backs up their problem. I may have to quick become my S and stroke them and go, it's okay, it's fine, this house is great. But at the end of the day, the objection is their personal objection. And we all know that the best time to buy a house is when you're ready. Buy or sell is when you're ready, right? So that's my answer, unfortunately, is you just really have to figure out what their actual, because they might tell you that they're afraid of the rate dropping, but don't we know the answer to that? Who cares what the rate does? You change the rate for yourself when that happens. So it all goes back to listening. I know it sounds so simple, but
Well, listening is key. It's key. What would you say is the biggest objection you get right now, Nina?
I'm so tired of the rate objection. So when they start in with that, I'm like, we are not going back to COVID time. So we're not even having this conversation.
For sure.
And so the direct side of me is like, are you really having that conversation? Do you really, I mean, when I'm saying it like this, I'm saying it like this to them. And I'm like, are we really having a conversation because you think it's going to go back to 2.4? Is that what we're really doing? Because we know it's not going to do that, even if it drops. And they laugh, you know, there's some humor in there. We've softened it, the conversation. But I'm like, all right, so when it does go down, and actually I tell them, you have two options. You can go new construction and you can go with somebody who's going to give you that crazy rate really low for the first couple of years or maybe even lock in at it, or you can buy down the rate, or you can refinance when it goes down. Pick one of your three options. And they look at me and they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I'm like, and guess what? It's not in the 8s, not yet. Lord, I hope we don't go there, but, and then they kind of laugh. So injecting some of the humor with the objections, but then one of the things I do is ask them more questions and make them think. I also have a life coaching certification. So one of the things that I know is don't always give an answer. Ask a lot of questions for them to come up with the answer. And every time that they come up with an answer, it's the light bulb going off for them. I'm not turning a switch. They did it themselves.
yeah, it'll go better for you if it's their idea.
Yeah. I'll just ask more questions. And if I lead the witness when I ask the questions. So, okay, so I'm leading the witness with where I want them to go with it. However, that is one of the things that I think helps them get past that.
Love that. Love that. Danielle, let me ask you a question coming from a D personality trait. So how do you stay confident and composed when a client pushes back or challenges your advice?
Glad you didn't ask me this.
That is a hard one. I think I just stop and listen and try to just take a deep breath. I ask more questions. So again, I go into the dig deeper. I mean, really, I think that's like the key here. I guess that's what I do.
Do you ever feel like being having a, and you're not a straight D, so you're able to pull out, some, and go into your tool bag and pull out some other things too, but do you feel like being a D, when they are challenging you, do you get a little offended by it as if they don't trust your expertise?
Correct, yeah. I mean, it probably goes back to confidence. D, like they said, seems very confident, but I mean, I'm pretty confident. It just depends what it is. How do I answer that question? Yeah, I mean, I do get a little offended. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of like, because I said so, but I will never say that to a client. So I don't even know how I do that.
I feel like at all walks in our careers, each of us has to understand that we have more to learn.
Yeah.
And so like with that person that's challenging you, you know more than they do, period. We all do. We all went to school for this. So coming out of school, we tell this to people all the time when you're new, right? You know more than the buyer you're getting ready to show the house. But when you're brand new, you don't feel that way. As someone who's been brand new, who's been on a team, who's now started a team and now speaking in front of you for the second time in her life, and has the nerves, I can tell you that you're always learning. So take that opportunity when they're challenging you to stop for a minute, like you said, and know that I know more than this person does. So I'm gonna slow down and think about how to prove to this person based on their objection, what is their objection so that I can handle it, because I'm smarter than they are. And just remember that you're smarter than they are.
It's kind of like a mind game. I mean, you're kind of just.
Yeah, they don't go to they might challenge their doctor when they go to the doctor and the doctor says you have this disease. They might go, no, I don't. But are they going to win that one?
Yeah.
Probably not, unless it's an idiot doctor. Sorry, idiot. I should maybe say idiot. But
No, but I love that because that's a great point, because we have to remember that we're the professional, and I always tell our clients, we're partnering together. Like we're choosing, I always say in a consultation, this consultation is for us to make sure that you are a good fit for us and that we're a good fit for you. You know, it has to work together, because a lot of times if you don't set that precedence and they feel like, well, you're here to do like what I tell you to do, and this is how it works. It's like, no, I'm a professional, and we're gonna partner and guide you through this process. And I feel like whenever they gain that trust immediately, or you stay in the driver's seat without being too dominant, so you don't push back those other personalities, it just kind of paves the way for a smoother transaction. But you do have to definitely let them know I'm the professional, and you wouldn't challenge your dentist, or you might, but you probably wouldn't.
I
You know,
would.
you're gonna sit back. Well, maybe
I have
Danielle
challenged the
does anyway.
dentist before, there wasn't a
But you
cavity
trust
there.
them though. You go to them, and that's their professional, and you still trust what they say. So it does make a difference. So can either one of you, I won't put you on the spot, but whoever can think of an example, share an example of a difficult objection that you had, and you were able to turn it into a successful outcome. Anything pops in mind?
Every transaction.
Yeah, it's really hard because we do it all the time and there's so many.
I mean, right now I have the maybe more lifestyle buyers, and they're just like, oh, maybe it's just not a good time. Maybe this isn't the right time. They're not getting what they wanted, what they would have a year ago. And so I was talking to Tina about this earlier this week, but just recentering them, refocusing them. What is their goal? What is the cost to them to not meet that goal?
That's a great point. Because what you just did is what I said, it has to be their idea. So when we teach them what the cost is to them, it's never about us, right? It's not about me. I like getting paid, but it's really about what that client needs. So I love that.
Yeah, and how is this going to affect your family? If we don't do this, if we don't get your home sold, how is this going to affect your family? How does it affect your timeline? And a lot of times when you find that pain and they're like, okay, we got to get this going because I do have a goal, I do have an end game, I do have things to do. So them not wanting to kind of budge and give, it makes them say, okay, let's maybe have another conversation here. So let's talk about practical application. So what's one strategy, I want to start with you, Kara. What is one strategy an agent can start using immediately to better connect with their clients?
Coming from my personality type, where I do like to sit back and observe, and I'm not like, I don't make small talk with people. I don't talk to everybody. So I ask questions.
Ask questions, okay.
I just ask questions, I listen, and then I kind of slowly but surely build my relationships.
I love that. I love that. What would you say, Tracy?
Can you repeat the question?
What's one strategy agents can start using immediately to better communicate or better connect with their clients?
Oh, that's an easy one. As much as I want to throw it out the window, you got to pick it up. And you got to do something besides this with it. Because they have to hear the inflection in your voice, and they have to hear your sincerity. There's so much false and so much fake in our society right now that it's really hard, and people are just dying to see you. So I think you pick up the phone and you make the phone call, even if it's hard. Even they're hard phone calls. Has anybody ever had that really hard phone call to make and you hang up going, wow, that was easy?
Oh, yeah.
All the time, you guys. Every time we make it worse for ourselves.
Oh, yeah. It's in our mind. We already have the
Yeah.
worst case scenario. You're really like, oh, that wasn't too bad. Or I did pretty good. Now you pat yourself on the back because in our mind we thought something we couldn't overcome. What about you, Nina?
But back to that group calls, because you have to get everybody on board, right? So, I mean, I like to do Zoom calls. I love it. And when they're like, we don't Zoom, and they want Teams, I'm like, I'm an Apple girl. I'm not doing Teams. But anyway, you know, like being on those Zoom calls and that sort of thing, it takes it one step further from hearing. I want them to see me. I want to make eye contact with them. I want them to see either my caring for them, you know, like I really sincerely care. I want them to feel that on the call. And when I'm going over contracts or whatever the case may be, that also builds confidence in them. So the visual, I think, is even more important than just hearing me and making sure that they have that. So we're starting with the Zoom call, you know, before we even meet. Most times it's, I have a lot of relocation clients and that sort of thing. Even if you're local, we're Zooming, and then we're gonna meet in person and all this stuff. And so by the time they get to me, they're like, oh, I know Nina, she's my best friend, you know? So we've really made that deep connection. So when objections come up, I'm also trying to address them on a Zoom call. All right, let's get on, let's talk. And they just, I think it's that, and the other thing is, I can't hide my expressions on a Zoom call, which is probably teaching me how to get out of my my I and my D and be a little bit more, again, just chameleon and sympathetic and empathetic and all the things. So if I can control this, it's better for them too.
I love that. And then Danielle, what's one strategy an agent can use to better connect?
I would say listening. I think that's the biggest thing, just listening to what they have to, like, what they have to say. And then, again, it goes back to asking questions and then kind of using that information to help guide them through the process and find out the real, like we've talked about over and over, the real objection and what's best for them and their best interest. I think that's what I would say.
So let's go a different route a little bit because we're talking about practical application. And so since we have all these different personality styles, and we're going to go back because I should have had everyone give their background first, and I missed that, so I'm very sorry. So I want you to give me your background in real estate first, and then answer this question for me. So when we talk about practical application, how do we lead gen? How do we find clients based off our personality types? Because I always tell everyone that we all have a superpower. We all have something that makes us unique, right? And how to tap into what you already do to generate clients from that. So, Kara, tell us how long you've been in the business, a little bit about yourself, and then what is your number one lead generation tool based off of your personality?
I was licensed in 2006, so basically I've done real estate my entire adult life. And this is the fourth market that I've started over my business in. I'm from California. I started in Sacramento. I moved to Redding and then moved back to where I was raised in San Diego. So I kind of restarted my business in 3 places in California.
Wow.
And then we moved out here and I said, I'm not restarting. And then 2020 happened. And I'm a fool. So I restarted. But so that's my history in real estate. And I, like I said, I don't immediately connect with people easily. I have to trust people to feel like I want to connect. But so I have a lot of good, solid relationships, and I get a lot of referrals.
Love that.
So it's like once that trust is built, there's mutual trust, and then I get referrals.
So you feel like for your personality type, you've leaned in more on my safe space, which is my sphere of influence, people who know, love, and trust me, and let me have them send me referrals.
Yeah.
So it works better for you. Okay, I love that. And what about you, Tracy?
I think we're on the 2006 side of the room here because I'm also licensed in 2006. So we've been around the world. I haven't started my career over 4 times because I moved, but I feel like I've started over 4 times because of things that have happened in life. And so here I am right there with you. And can I make a shameless plug like Mary Lou did? Because I'm helping my teammate teach a class next week on Be You Niche. That's our title, by the way. Has anybody here heard of That Cosplaying Realtor? Nobody? Well, Charity has. Charity helped raise her too. And she is incredible. But anyway, we've designed a whole class on Be Yourself, because what I have finally learned in this go round of my rebranding and rebuilding is that I was trying so hard to get my lead gen the way everybody else does, that I was feeling insufficient, and I was insufficient because I wasn't being myself. So what I am after now is much like you. I'm going after my past clients, and I'm connecting with the community however I can, because this is me. I am an IS all day long. The D's, God bless you, and will you please do all of my paperwork? That's it. We can all get along happily. But that is where I'm headed now, is I just want to involve myself with the community, because that's my superpower, is connecting on that very personal level. And then it just happens so organically, and that's my ish.
And you lead a team, correct?
I do.
Okay. And so how, with your team, do you see different personality styles within your teammates, and you kind of help guide them on how they lead gen and how they get business individually?
Also revamping all of this, you guys got me at a really interesting time. I've tried lots of different teammates, and I am now seeking the teammates that are part of my culture. If you want to engage in the community like me, join me, because that's the way we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna try to fit my square peg into a round hole anymore. So if that's how you wanna connect, I'm your girl. If you are the high D, please call Tina. She'll get you going and you will rock and roll for life. But it's just not who I am, so.
I love that. But that's powerful too.
We like them all.
It takes them all. And once I get a little bit better at where I'm guiding myself and the teammates that I have right now who are also strong ISs with me, then we can branch out and we can bring in some of those other people and learn how to work with them. But when you're starting out, be true to yourself, because it's a hard industry not to be.
I love that. Tina, anything you want to say to that point, leading a big team with a lot of different personalities?
Well, no, I mean, to Tracy's point, it's like, you know, most people are not self-aware. I mean, that's the reality, because you're functioning in the vessel that you're in for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, just like this. I mean, you're just are who you are, and everybody is self-involved too, right? So we're just doing our own thing. And until you have to interact with other people and lead them, like leading a client is different, and I knew versatility when I learned this. I'm like, oh my God, okay, I have to chameleon. So you're chameleon, but leading people, it's like, there is no one size fits all. And to lead people, you have to understand yourself, how you show up first. So it's that self-reflection, and then others' reflection. And so we're obsessed here about their disc and their working genius and their strengths finder, not to control them, but to meet them where they're at. And so we can understand a high DC is gonna need something different. Still, we believe in one foundational aspect, that we have to start by doing these foundational things, and there is a process, but then later, as you build your business, you can go any different direction that you want. And then still, we're very big on discovering what holds us back. And so a lot of that inner work to say, okay, where is this fear coming from? Because fear is usually what stops the growth of development, right? So yeah, I think you just learn a lot. We've torn it all down, Tracy, and built it back up. I mean, we're always changing, but I think it's, at the end of the day, meeting people where they're at, but having one unified structure that starts. And that is this is our core, we're community driven, this is what we do. But hey, you get a high D driver, I'll be like, that looks nice, Tracy, but where are the results? I can't wait for people to call me. If I join your team, show me a way that I can get a result faster for my time. So then as long as you have something for someone like me, then you can cater to everybody. So, right? So that's kind of how we do it here. We start with our foundation, because we know that people are going to be broke if they don't do the high D stuff quicker. But then eventually we're like, you don't have to make calls forever. You just have to make them now. You know? So
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And especially important is, speaking of teams, I remember years ago when Dave and I first decided to partner and then start a team. And so all of you just wanted to join our team. And we're like, yeah, come on. And I remember someone asking, they were like, have you done a disc assessment? And I'm like, no, why? I like them. I don't need to do that. But then we realized, like, oh my God, like this is a lot. Or just kind of just working with different personality types. And we realized, okay, you do have to slow down and you do have to do those disc assessments. And then I always feel like they're subjective depending on how you answer the questions and that kind of thing. So a lot of times it takes time for you to really get to know that person. But I love that, because then it's like, okay, here's my foundation. Here's who we are. So now I need to see, do you fit into what we're trying to do? And it's okay if you don't. And I can love you from a distance and you can move on. But it's very important. And sometimes if you're building a team, you just jump in so fast with people, and then you realize, this is really not a good fit. Yeah. And so I think it's very important to slow down and have that foundation first. So thank you for sharing that. Nina, tell us a little bit about your background, and then how do you lead generate based off of your personality?
I have been in real estate here in North Carolina since 2018. I was licensed in New Jersey, but didn't do much with it. And I very much am also relational based. So I don't even know if I can say this anymore, but it was that more than 90% of my business was referral based. And I am so grateful for what I closed last year based on that. And then now this year, I'm getting a lot more online leads. So people finding me from, I'm really big into my YouTube videos, doing other online searches. I did exactly what Phil Stringer told us to do. did the hard work so that if they were searching on AI, that I came up on that. So I'm getting a ton more leads this year from online searches, but I am very big into video. I show up on social media, I'm consistent with it. So that's a lot of my lead gen right there. And I am so grateful, like beyond grateful for how it has all come together, so.
And I love that keyword you said, you're consistent with it.
Oh, yeah.
Because consistency makes a big difference. Everyone wants to go on social media. Everyone sees these videos and you sit in all these classes and they're teaching you how to do it. But if you're not being consistent, it's not going to work.
And you can see the evolution of my videos from even like last year to this year, that sort of thing. Like, I don't give a, okay, you either like me or you don't. I am in there. It is my personality. I am unique. It is me. And so you better like me if you're going to work with me, and here are my videos. And so when my clients are complaining about like, oh, that due diligence fee, and they're moving here from out of state, I'm like, did you not watch all the videos that I sent you explaining the due diligence fee? And I am like, my videos, I am like up in your face about it. So do not talk to me that you don't like the due diligence fee. So it's one of those things where I was nicer and calmer and everything else in the beginning. And then I'm like, hell no, you're not listening to that person. I'm going to be more direct. So I would say that even that evolution of that gave people even more confidence in me, which is why when they binge my videos, they turn around, they call me. They're like, she knows what she's doing. She's going to get us the house. She's going to be the one to educate us. She's going to protect us. So
I love that.
but again, the consistency of it. I'm always putting out new YouTubes every week, and I'm all over the social media with it.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you.
So when they complain, I send them a video.
Watch the video.
I'm like, let's see this again on repeat.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And what about you, Danielle?
So I've been in the business since 2014. I started with new construction sales for a 55+ builder, did that for about 5 years, and then felt like I kind of got to the top, then went into general brokerage in 2019. I would say my superpower, or how I get leads, or whatever the question is, you can say I'm not a public speaker, clearly. I love events and I love people. I'm actually a DI, so where I found myself very successful when I worked for the builder, I used to host like events. I had to keep these people happy for almost 2 years, which was very difficult to do. So I did a lot of events, so I built really great relationships, and so past client and spheres where I get a lot of it, and then I farm those 55+ neighborhoods, and then they help, I get their kids and kind of make it a family affair. And then I do like different micro events, I would say, to get business as well. And then now I'm on the team and learning how to make cold calls, right, LaDondria? That's what I'm learning. Prospecting in a different way. I'm making warm calls, yeah. So I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone.
That would kill me.
It kills me, but you know what? It's working. So.
Is it working? Oh, I was gonna say, it's gonna kill me. It would kill me too, but it would work, so.
Well, it brings other pixie dust. It's not really the call itself, but I feel like when you put it out in the universe, then the phone just rings magically. So that's kind of.
I will totally agree with that.
Yeah.
No matter what you're gonna do, you just have to do it in
That's
this
why
business.
I do it.
If you're gonna
Pixie
do
dust.
nothing, you're gonna have nothing results, period. It's really what it is. Go out and find your business however you want to do that, wherever your comfort level is. But you gotta go out and do it. No, it's not gonna land in your lap.
Not at all. Not
Ever.
at all. It never will. And so before we open it up to questions, 'cause I would love to see if there's any questions, but we talk about taking the DISC assessment several times, because I remember taking it at my former brokerage when I first got into the business, and I was a chameleon. Like, I was straight along the way, and I remember my coach at that time, sitting over there in the corner, was just like, you can talk to anyone, because my personality was, okay, if you want to be direct, I'll be direct. If you don't want to have small talk, we won't have small talk. If you want to be social, we can. I can adjust to kind of any type. And so then when I took Mary Lou's class last year for CE, I noticed like my D was a lot higher, my I was higher, and I think, but then too, I was in my 30s then. I'm in my 40s now. So I know as we, change, especially women, we get more confident in who we are, our personalities change. And so that's why I always say take the assessment several times, because you'd be surprised how even your own personal perspective changes how you show up in your business. So how many times have you taken this assessment? Was this your first time taking it?
I think like 4.
4. And so how have you seen your style change just as an agent over that span of time that you've taken those assessments?
So it's kind of a chameleon like you. I think Mary Lou, we did that together. I think I was a chameleon. And I would say now D is kind of still D, still high D. I would say my I has come down a little bit. And I realized I'm actually a little more analytical than I thought, kind of overanalyze things, but I'm not like the spreadsheet in the weeds type of person. So I would say, but I still lean more dominant, but I'm learning to slow down and maybe not give my thoughts and interject my thoughts all the time.
I love that.
So that's how it's changed a little bit.
And what about you, Nina? How have you evolved, I would say, through seeing your DISC assessment or just seeing your career in general?
I've taken it quite a few times, and that I just sticks right up there, no matter what I do. Sometimes it's a little S, sometimes it's a little D. One thing it never is C. So at least I stay consistent again with that. But, you know, I was thinking about my partner, my admin, you know, like she must be the highest C because she is A, always bringing me back to reality, and B, she is super analytical, thank God, because she's doing all the paperwork and all the other stuff and organizing that sort of thing. So understanding, you know, all of that, again, working with the people, like you were saying, like I need somebody in this role, this C, to help me get back to reality and do the things that I will not be doing. So especially when a client is, you know, talking to me about, you know, they're all into the numbers or whatever. I'm like, oh, we'll geek out on the numbers, but let's also get into, you know, why you're doing this. So that I has always been very high, and clearly, you know, knowing what I'm strong at and what I'm not strong at has always helped me not just win a deal, right? So, because then you have to know the client, the agent on the other side and how they communicate too. Sure. That's a whole other thing too. And then who their clients are and what they like. You can analyze the whole picture, right? But being able to hopefully read, understand, and be able to adjust based on that. So, but I've always been a high I.
Yeah. No, I love that. Adjust and then also have leverage to say, okay,
well,
now I do need to bring another person in who's able to do X, Y, Z. And then that's when leverage is so important because I know what I'm good at, but I know what I'm not so good at. Yep. And that's where you can bring it in. How has your assessment changed over the years and evolved for you as business?
Well, I haven't taken it recently and I really should have,
Okay.
but I tried and the link was broken. I couldn't get it to work. I'm really sorry, you guys, because I really did want to take it again, but I've always been an IS. I've only taken it twice. One in 15 and one in 21. If I were guessing based on where I've been in the last year of my life and career, I'm probably a little bit even more of all of them because I'm really evolving and kind of quickly. So it's tough for me. I'm definitely still very high I. I think my S is actually a little bit higher now because I've been beaten up for nearly 20 years. And you get to the point where you go, I don't want to get beaten up anymore. Yeah, sure. So you just kind of steady yourself because out of like fight or flight, right? Yeah. It became sort of I have to learn how to slow it down and not let this stuff bother me because it does. Or else it's going to break me. So I think just knowing that it's there and just, I'm one of those that is reflecting. I don't know how it happened, but in the last year, I've really started to reflect deeply. So it's helpful to absorb all of this and try to figure out the people in your life and how you can work with them.
I love that. It's a major decision. It's the biggest purchase they're going to make. You know, it's a major
exactly,
life
and
decision.
there's so much stress with that, and everybody handles stress differently. But we see some really deep stuff with our clients, and especially if there's more than one involved, you see how they interact on top of them individually, and it gets complicated. So the steady is really important, but we have to move so quickly in our jobs that I tended to get to a point where I was moving so fast and I just couldn't see the forest through the trees because I needed more steady, because the steady, all the moving so quickly and the I have to make the decision was clouding my judgment and not letting me make good judgment. So I'm focused heavily on steady right now.
I love that. I love that. Kara, what about you?
I think I've always been high C and high S, but as I've gotten older, I got my license when I was 20. And so as I got older, I got more confidence and more clarity. And I really think that upped my D. So
Sounds good, great. Well, I would love to open it up for questions.
Well, I want to say something real quick. Before I met the amazing MLD, we had this disc coach, and so what he said was, we had this, one of our leaders that took the disc and it came out exactly perfect. And we were like, we handed it all, and he goes, that person's trying to be everything for everyone. So you said in your 30s, because we try to be perfect and we answer everybody, yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, I think I'm like that. I think I'm like that. So when you see someone that comes like literally across, he was like, that's someone overly thinking and trying versus being reflective.
Yes.
And now you've got the right angles. The other thing he said, have your husband take the test for you with you. And so the person that knows you best, sit down, let's take the test together, because again, we don't realize how we show up. We want to think we're this way. And then like, you are not a high S, you're a D. Like, so as we took the test with my husband, it changed a little bit because anyway, it changed a little bit. The D is still there, it was just lower than it came off. But the other thing is, when you said I'm not very analytical, or I'm a low C, you're a low C, mine comes out low C, but we're actually, it's not, I'm not analytical. My analyzing is different than your analyzing.
Correct, right.
Yes. So I go, I'm a high D, we're gonna do this. And this is what we're gonna do. And someone's going, wait, what are the steps? I've already seen them in my head and we're moving on.
Yep.
I don't need them on paper, and that's the difference. Yes, you're analytical, but how you analyze is different.
Yes.
And so that's where I think, I used to say, I'm not analytical, because Mike Ferry used to say, you're a low C, you're not analytical. I'm like, wait, but I'm overanalyzing over here, so I feel analytical. So that's just something to think about. It's like, maybe you can reflect on that because you're the coach for it, but.
Well, I was only halfway listening. No. Everything you said is true, Tina.
And you look pretty and your hair looks good.
All right, moving on.
I definitely overanalyze everything, and I'm very analytical, and I love, especially our trip, right? Like, I love being reflective. I love doing all of that stuff. But do I want to sit down with all the spreadsheets and all the stuff? Hell no. That's just, I'm not, I will give my clients all of that, and I'll spend time going over it. And especially if they're making an offer, we're reviewing all the data, but I don't lead with data. It
That's
is not my lead.
I will do it when I need to, but I'm not gonna analyze for the fun of it. But I analyze when I need to, but
Some people, like our clients, will analyze before they go see the house, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't we go see it, and then we'll figure out if this actually even matches you, and then we'll get into the numbers. Because if you don't even feel it when you walk in the house, I'm not spending time on these numbers, but for you to tell me, like, oh, I don't even feel it.
But the high D doesn't have feelings for the house, right? They only see the numbers, right? Am I wrong?
I mean, I have feelings.
I think you either feel it or you don't. More of a clear.
It doesn't take long to decide,
It depends on
Decide
what their
quickly.
other styles are and what their values are. Because I didn't even really bring values into it, but the assessment that I sent out, and Tracy, we'll figure out a way to get the link to work for you. But those values and what's important to you are gonna, I almost look at that as like the current that's underneath the boat, the disc canoe. It's gonna move you further in one direction or the other. And as somebody who has a low C, as a coach, I love numbers, because what they do is they ground me and take the emotion out of it. So, and I do think that cultures and how we were brought up, because I'm German, like I'm a German through and through. Most Germans are super high C, but I'm very practical. And I have to bring in the data because, like I said, it creates a non-emotional playing field for me.
And see, so here's what I want to piggyback off, and that's why I'm such a nerd with all the tests. She's a GD in her working genius. So the go, the G, the galvanizer, the look at me, I'm on stage, tell me I'm doing great things, that's the I, the G, the push. So it's like the driver. But when you say I want to look at all of it, it's the discernment. I want to see the pattern. I want to look at the pattern, I want to analyze the pattern, that's analytical. but she's analyzing with her gift of discernment and her gut intuition after analyzing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it
Yeah.
plays all the, that's why you need we're both Ds, but she's an E in her working genius first in her G, and I'm an ID. Ideas and discernment. She cares what other people think. She wants to be liked and loved and care for people, and she leads with that. And I don't, my E's at my bottom. I don't need to be loved or thanked. I just want to do the job. And I want to serve you by fixing your problems. And so that's where I get the joy. It's like, here's the fix, let's go. Versus like, do you like me or not, right? So it's all D's and E's and G's and I, there's lots of letters, but you kind of gotta realize every human has their own thumbprint, right?
I'm trying to get
And that's why you gotta dig deeper.
I would say my driver, so I'm a natural SC. And no one knows, like, if you leave me alone to read a book for the rest of my life and never talk to me, I would be super happy. And people don't believe me when I say this. Like, my preference is to be in a hot tub with a book. Like, if I could live my life to never talk to someone, read, write, like, just hand it off, like, that's actually my preference. But because of my life, I've had to build these other pieces. Like, I love a spreadsheet for the same reason as Mary Lou. I would say, like, spreadsheets are boxes for my thoughts because my thoughts are all over the place. So those are really like trauma responses that I've had to create growing up in a life of chaos. So analytical side, I had to, like, it's more about safety and security. And so that's kind of going back to, like, all of the questions we were saying, like, how do you figure out what people want to get them to move and make decisions? It's, people are really just afraid of something, and they're usually going to say something that's something else. So that's kind of the same, you were all saying, like, ask more questions, ask more questions, ask more questions, because how can we get them to, like, how do we solve a problem if we don't actually know what the problem is? And that's usually what we're finding. How people report that, like, or show that to you is different based on their disc. But like I said, my driver, I would say my driver is driven by my analytical. So if I'm confident and I know what I'm talking about, because I know, like, I've written a 12-page paper, APA style documentation, like, I know, like, come at me, bro. I've read the contracts, I know every single word of it, like, because I want to be right, and that's a little bit like a justice thing, and that comes from trauma. So there's, like, a lot of things around disc, and it changes. And so it's like, I think there's no one is one size fits all, right? And so they've got to take into consideration everything around that. But, like, I don't need a spreadsheet if someone else is doing a spreadsheet. But if somebody else is not doing it, we need to have a conversation about that. And that's why I like to go in and fix things and then not stay. Once it's fixed, I'm out. So versus someone who likes to be in a spreadsheet all the time. Once we have a process and everybody knows the steps and we're working like synchronized swimmers, do you know what I mean? Like, everybody knows the next steps. Cool, I'm good. Then I can be in my driver's seat of, like, go, go, go. But I'm not gonna go, go, go for doing the wrong things. So it's like, it's my driver's driven by my analytical, and I've had to raise my DNI. But, like, naturally I'm an SC. So that's why it's weird. And when you'll see somebody who's, like, even across, like, it could be that they're both. It just, this human, which is a galvanizer, we love learning about motivation because our whole purpose is motivating people. So we have to understand human behavior, constantly observing, like, what people are doing to move the needle, right? And that, you could be a galvanizer who's an I or a D or an S. I think it just, usually they're probably I's, but you can encourage and move and motivate without having to be wow, crazy. And I'm an introvert. People don't believe that shit either. Like, people drain the living life out of me. If I'm around people, it's too much people, and I need 3 to 5 business days to recover. So I am drained by people, but I can turn on the presentation, but that's, like, been my life. Versus, like, being around people energizes this one. So I'm like, can you go do that? And I'll be over here with the spreadsheet. Like, you know, so you gotta find, it's not just being outgoing. Introvert, extrovert is different than outgoing and not outgoing, right? So I think it's more complicated, but this is an amazing, like DISC was the first thing that I learned on personality styles too, and I was like, I was 38. Like, I never learned this stuff till I was like, wow, this stuff is cool. Like, it's stuff you observe through life, and then there's words for it. So I just thought it was cool. Just add color.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I think in the beginning I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
When I first got into the business. And now I'm just like, here I am, take or leave it. You like me, you do. You don't, I could care less.
Right.
So, and I think that's why it changes, because when you get out of that whole people pleasing, you really get into, here's my purpose. I know what I'm here for. I know what I need to do. And,
Yeah, maturity too.
Maturity,
Confidence,
so yeah.
You can make decisions quicker, like, I'm not as afraid of the risk.
Mhm,
So I think
absolutely.
it's more like risk averse, as we can say analytical, like, they've seen danger and risk.
I was gonna say, wait till you turn 50.
No, Lord.
Really don't care.
We're gonna take it again. Any other ahas or takeaways before we wrap up? Or, go ahead, Javoris.
I just got a question. I think the key to dealing with people is to really be discerning. But I want to ask y'all, I know we all have our personalities, but do you ever feel the need, or can you recognize when you need to alter your
Always.
personality? Not change who you are, but just adjust to your client.
Always.
How do you do that? How do you recognize
Back to what we said in the beginning, you really have to listen to what they're telling you. They'll tell you exactly how they want to be spoken to. Here's a real life example you were asking for them earlier. I had a client who must be, I don't know what letter he is. He must be a D maybe, I don't know. Showed up the first time to our first showing and said, let me tell you how this is gonna go. We had barely shaken hands. And yeah,
Definitely a
he
D.
said, let me tell you how
I'll
this is
just tell
gonna
you the
go.
answer right now.
We're gonna look at no less than 25 houses, and then and only then will I pick one and tell you which one it's gonna be. And he expected from me a negative response to that. But he didn't get one, because I could clearly tell this guy thinks he wants to run this show, and I'm gonna let him think that. So I said, okay, cool, I like looking at houses. And we went inside and kept looking at houses, and they bought one 12 houses later. We never did see 25, but he just wanted to feel in charge, right? So you listen, period. It sounds so simple, and it is. You just have to shut up and listen. Sorry, is there a different answer?
You were gonna
I have an add-on.
Good.
How do we recognize? Mary Lou's DISC CE class is the best CE class I have ever taken in 20 years. So I went home with that booklet and I was telling my husband about the quadrant, and I instantly analyzed my whole family.
It's analytical,
Take
so you
that.
analyze me.
Yes, take that, learn that, you can do it in 60 seconds. It's this.
We're gonna work on this all the time.
Well, and Javoris, I don't know if this is, I'm kind of piggybacking on maybe the question that you asked, but I feel like, oh gosh, and now I just lost my train of thought. I'm not kidding, I'm not on show here, but what was I gonna say? Dang it.
How do you know? How do you know quickly?
So I think sometimes too, in life, when there is a lesson or an adjustment that I find in my life that it's time for me to become aware of, it's a pattern that keeps coming up. And I think the more self-aware we are, then we say, oh, okay, so maybe it's time that I really start digging into this a little bit and actually growing in this area. Because that's what happens to me, is I feel like those lessons will be put in front of me several times. And then when I recognize that pattern, I'm like, okay, maybe this is an area where I need to grow in and look inwardly and figure this stuff out now. Even where it was okay that I was that way before and I embraced it. But typically, I think we know when there are patterns in things that it's time for us to work on.
I will give a shout out to Tina as well, I mean, obviously, but like, scripts.
She's still deserving of it.
If you, so as an I who tends to be good at talking to people, scripts are very important because scripts are written in psychological language in order to address all the different DISC personality styles. So scripts don't necessarily have to be something that you memorize and use like a robot, but it gives you a guideline and an outline to not get off track, to set the standard, to say this is what we're doing. And so having scripts, if you go deep in sales training, good sales training, it's about asking questions. And we can also ask more questions, but then for people who are natural I's, okay, cool, S's, ask questions easy. analytical sometimes. You're like, okay, I need to know the answers to questions. So asking questions is easy. If you're a driver, which a lot of real estate agents are, you're like, I don't have questions. I already know what to do. So just listen to me and stop asking questions. Like, so it's scripts do help in sales. Like, not that you have to have them, but if you're like just going slower in those initial conversations and kind of like feeling it out to see how they respond to things, pre-listing of all that I called, like those scripts. When she taught it to us and she was saying like, this is showing this, the way they answer to this shows you this. So like there's a lot of like psychology behind scripts. So it might be interesting to look into scripts even if you don't plan to like use them every day, but in order to just know how to approach things neutrally.
And one thing to add to that is that the scripts will do this too, because you have it sort of training your brain that now I'm like, I got Mary Lou's disease. I lost my train of thought too. No, when asking the questions, it's important to ask questions that are not yes or no answers, you guys. You have to ask questions that get them talking, because the D's don't want to tell you the answers you're looking for. So that's kind of your answer. But if you ask them a yes or no question, you're not going to know their personality. You have to ask them, wow, I love blue lemonade. What's your favorite thing to drink? I mean, whatever it is. But you have to come up with something that makes them think so that you can see this all happening.
Well, it sounds great. All right, are we good? Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time, your expertise. I greatly appreciate that. Is our lunch sponsor here? Mitch?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
The food is here.
All right, so we are going to.
Let's give it up for Felicia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, Mitch can come on up now. So we do have our lunch sponsor here, so we're gonna give Mitch a few moments with Simply Mortgage just to come in to say hello and thank them for the beautiful lunch.
Yes, yes, don't go anywhere, anybody. All you people on Zoom. Eat with us virtually.
Take it with you if you're leaving. Don't leave it here. Throw it away.
I know.
Shut up.
I was like, oh, shit. You're acting that I live in the party. Oh, that's easy with that right now. Go ahead. You know that.
All right, if we could just have your attention for a couple more minutes. I just want to introduce you to our lunch sponsor today. So this is Mitch Hazelwood with Simply Mortgage. And Simply is now in-house with us here at Call Group. He's located right down the hallway here. Mitch was an agent and he was on our team about a year ago, moved away for a hot minute, came back as a lender, and he's been doing great ever since. He's getting a lot of pre-approvals out for our team. He's getting some deals closed for our team as well. West Point grad, so super smart. And he's just gonna tell you a little bit about himself and what's going on in the market today.
What's going on, everybody? How's access? Good. Yeah, so I moved up to Michigan about a year and a half ago, switched over to lending. I was a realtor before that. The company that I was with, they specialize in VA loans, and so they actually just posted, it's 9 loan officers, and they did 178 loans in first quarter. So, and about 85% of those would be VA. So they're really, really good. They know what they're doing in terms of that. And so that's where I learned VA process. I was in the military, and so it's just always been something that I'm like focused on. And I know how the military lingo goes and all that kind of stuff. Also studied economics when I was in college, so I've just always really liked finance. And so that's one thing that I did to just kind of get thrown into that arena. But I also love real estate, and I love the process, and I love like actually like looking at the houses and working with the clients in that aspect. And so I really enjoy like working here directly with the agents and just being able to help out and be ingrained with the process a little bit more. So what we are simply is we're a brokerage. So we have a lineup of different banks that we use software to shop the rates for. If you guys have heard brokers before, really the difference between like a banker is that they have one bank that they're attached to, and I have multiple. So I can have a little bit more versatility. Some options that we can do is like if we have a low appraisal on something, you can pull them from that lender, put them with a different lender. That's something that we've come across before. Too, just can shop the rates quite a bit more. I can also put clients with, you know, a lender that has better underwriting guidelines for their unique situations. So whether they're doing a DSCR loan or if they have kind of like a lower credit score, we can go down with a couple lenders down like 510 on a credit score. Now it's very particular on the people that have those lower credit scores that we can work with, but you know, you have me and I have more options that are available. I just have to do a little bit of research to figure out which one matches them best. Let's see. Yeah, so also, I just really, like I said, just really like real estate, and I enjoy going to open houses, seeing the houses, and then I'm trying to get better at social media, so I need the realtors that I work with to help me out with that aspect a little bit, so.
How do they get in touch with you, Mitch, and he works weekends, guys, so he's available when some people are not, so that's great, right?
Yeah,
So how do they get in touch with you?
you guys can text me my cell, I'll write it up here. That's the easiest way for anyone, so. I'll write it up here, you guys can take a picture. You can call me, text me, whatever you need to do to get a hold of me. I got some flyers back there, you can pick those up, you guys can take those to your client events, whatever, if you're doing any any open houses, meeting with them, those flyers are good. Let's see what else. I have go ahead.
I was just gonna put it, Mitch, well, you can call him and just get advice, even if it's like on another deal.
Yeah.
So, like I had one that had a green card, I can't remember the situation. I'm like, hey, what would you do? Even though he wasn't the lender, so not that we want to waste Mitch's time, because obviously we want to bring him business, but he's a really great resource for you guys, so
Yeah.
he can help you out a lot.
Yeah, I just try to be a resource. So we have to do more volume as lenders. So like I'm talking to more clients and more people and more agents all the time. And there's going to be contracts that fall through. There's gonna be people that use a different lender, but I'm still here to be like an advisor to you as the agent. And as we build those relationships, then more deals will just end up going well, you know? And so I know that like, hey, not every client that I talk to or not every agent that I talk to is gonna be transactions, but eventually as we build that relationship, it'll lead to more transactions, hopefully for you and for the lender as well. So, yeah, I think it's a like the thought that I had was like, you're kind of like close air support. So the infantry, you guys are the infantry on the battleground, going out there, talking with the clients and being there physically with them. And then the close air support comes in and tries to make sure that we get the house under contract and good timing and you get the closing, so, but, yeah.
So we all have lunch in the back, city barbecue, so definitely make sure you thank Mitch. And then if you want to speak to any of the panelists before you leave, they are available in the back. But thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.